Hello friends and welcome. Today I'm going to show you how to create your very own cool duck. And I know I've seen it, I'm late to the game, I've seen it absolutely go viral I think a couple of years ago. But I just wanted to try it for my own. And I'm just going to try and show you how to create your very own tapestry using a Tunisian simple stitch. So for that we're going to need an chain 25 chains, and for Tunisian simple stitch we're going to work onto the back side of our chains. So if you turn your chains onto the back side and you run your fingers through them, you feel little bumps, and we're going to work onto those bumps right here. I'm going to skip this very first bump and we're just going to go straight to the second one because it corresponds to this very first loop, and this very first loop counts as one. So we're going to insert our hook, yarn over and pull. And we're just going to do this all the way down our row, yarning over onto that little bump and pulling a loop onto our hook. And we should end up with 25 loops on our hook. And now something unique about Tunisian simple stitch is that we work forwards and we work backwards within one row. So now we're going to do a backwards or a return pass for this one row right here. We're going to yarn over and pull through that very first loop or our very last loop, depending on how you're looking at it. And that is our chain one. We're going to grab our yarn and pull through two. Again, grabbing our yarn and pulling through two of our loops, yarning over and pulling through two of our loops, and it should look like little squares. And we're going to do this all the way down our row, and this is how your row should look like. I did forget to mention that I'm using a longer Tunisian crochet hook. Of course, I do believe this is a rather smaller project, so I think you can get it to fit your regular crochet hook. Don't quote me on that, but I think we can make it work if you don't have a Tunisian crochet hook. Okay, so for our very next row, which is our second row, we're going to do a repeat, and we're going to, if you pull onto that very first row that we make, you see little like loops or like this little column that you see right here. As you can see, this is our very last column, and then our first one, and then our second one, and we're just going to insert our hook onto that front loop of our previous row, yarning over and pulling. As you can see, we already have that one as our loop that is always on our hook, counts as one. And we're just going to do this all the way down this row. It's going to be a solid color, going to be a total of 4 solid row colors. And we're just going to do this all the way down our row, and I'll meet you back. So now that we are at the end of our row, we're just going to yarn over and pull through that very first or last loop, like so. That's our chain one. And again, we're just gonna yarn over and pull through two, just like in our last row. And just like that, we have our second row, and we actually have 2 more rows on this solid color, and I'll actually meet you back. It's just the same thing. This is our repeat, so we just insert our hook onto that front loop of our previous row only, yarn over and pull through. And that's for our third row. I'll actually meet you back at the end of our 4th row, beginning of our 5th row. And now that we are at the end of our 4th row, beginning our 5th row, we're just going to insert our hook once again onto that front loop only of our previous row for 4 stitches. So whenever you have your graph, each square corresponds to a loop right here. And now I'll show you how to introduce a new color. And needless to say, you can always swap colors. The original has more like a bluish kind of background, but I'm just going to use this lilac background. And for that, we're just going to insert our hook onto that front loop of our previous row, and we're just going to yarn over with our new color, just like that. We're going to do this for 3 stitches. I like to move my tail back and forth so that my working yarn, this working yarn, catches my tail and I don't have to weave it in at the end. And then we're just going to grab our white yarn, again inserting our hook onto that front loop only, and then yarning over with our new color. And we're going to do this for 10 stitches. So now we have arrived to the second part of this purple or blue background, and for that I am actually going to introduce a new cake of yarn, because grabbing this purple and dragging it all the way over here creates a little bit of a waste, and I just don't want to do that. So I just am going to introduce a new purple cake of yarn, and we just do this for 4 stitches like so. And I'm actually going to do exactly the same thing for my pink yarn, introducing a new cake of yarn for this last little bit, and we should have 4 pink stitches. Again, needless to say that you can switch these colors around or just completely grab new colors. We're going to do our return pass, so we just chain 1 onto the very last loop, yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2, and pull through 2. And this is what it gets interesting. So whenever you have 2 different color stitches on your hook, you always use that second color stitch to pull through. In my case, I had my pink working yarn up, and I'm just going to drop it just like so. Just going to grab my purple. We're going to yarn over and pull through that pink and through that very first purple stitch. Once again, I'm just going to yarn over and pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2, and then we have an immediate color change. For this, just remember that you always use that second color stitch to pull through. We're going to drop our purple, we're going to pick up our white, yarn over, pull through that purple and through that white, and then we just yarn over and pull through 2. And then we have another color switch, dropping our white, picking up our purple, yarning over, pulling through that white, pulling through that very first purple stitch, pull through 2, pull through 2. Again, we drop our purple, we pick up our pink, yarn over through that purple and through that very first pink, and then we just pull through 2 all the way down the row. And just like that, you've learned how to do a color introduction and a color switch. Needless to say, this is where I leave the explanation. You have your foundation, like I said, your color change, your color switch, your color introduction. Everything that you need to know is within this little piece of advice that I've given you. So needless to say that I always leave the Pinterest pin that I'm following down on the description below, or of course you can always take a screenshot of the picture on screen.